I've fished in France for over 30 years now, and in that time I've fished many of the famous waters, but mainly the lakes like that to St Cassian. But I remember reading many years ago from the writings of Rod Hutchinson about a river also in the south of France called the River Lot, and although I never fished it in those days, it was always a burning ambition to one day go and fish that famous waterway, and maybe now was the chance to do that. Fast forward to today, and at last I had a chance to go and fish the river, mainly down to my good friend Jim Lightfoot, who had bought himself a place on the River Lot a couple of years ago. Now Jim opens up his house and his gardens to angling all year round, and it provided the perfect opportunity to at last go and sample what this famous river had to offer. I'd never looked at the river before, I had no idea where the areas were and whereabouts Jim was for that matter. Turns out that the famous Cabanac is probably about 80 kilometres from where we are, and the river in total is about 400 kilometres long. So it's a big piece of river, and there isn't another carp angler on this whole section, you know, that we've seen. So it's miles and miles of untouched water and hundreds, maybe probably thousands of uncaught carp. It's got a wintry feel to it. It is December now, and you know, there's some bad weather due. There's been quite a bit of rain in the last week, so that's affecting the conditions. Rivers are always affected by conditions more than lakes, and the worst thing you can really have in the winter is a lot of rain. So it's not going to be easy, but it's been a bit of a dream of mine to fish on the River Lot, and you know, finally after 30 odd years managed to get here. So yeah, here we are. A great water, one of the great French rivers, and somewhere out there's loads of lovely carp, so fingers crossed it'll turn out okay. I'm not expecting loads, I don't want to catch loads, but one or two would be nice, so like I say, fingers crossed. Let's hope it works out okay. Wherever I fish in the world, I prefer to be out in the open air and behind the rods, so for me it was the two-man Titan, home from home. But for Jim further down the bank, he had his boat moored up to one of the jetties, and with a cabin on board it was absolutely perfect for him. But for Joan, well, that was her cabin behind us, the luxury of the big house with all of its facilities. But all of us had the company of Lottie, the River Lot cat, which just turned up at Jim's one day and never left. One of the friendliest cats I've known, and was never far away. My first night of fishing on the River Lot was a real cold affair. It got well down below zero, and it passed by without a bleep for me. But further down the bank, Jim had been in action in the early hours.
Just over 39, Steve.
Oh, fantastic, mate.
£39. £39 river carp, absolutely freezing last night. Don't know what we got down to, Steve, -4, -5, it was frozen solid.
Gorgeous, mate.
Beautiful. So I've never seen this one before, Steve. So.
Shows they're about. Shows Woodlands are about as well. It's beautiful. It's just this way, looked up. That's it.
Oh, well, chuffed for this one, Steve.
Oh, that is
Beautiful,
lovely, mate.
beautiful fish.
Lovely fish to see, that is.
Cheers, mate. Back.
Well done, mate. There is loads of interesting little spots along here. Like any of these little bays do look good. It's my first time on the river lot, so you know it's all a learning curve for me, and you know I've yet to catch a river lot carp yet, so I'm making up as I go along. But the first thing to do is to make sure you're fishing effectively, so that's what I'm trying to do here. Hopefully this will work, but you know we will see. 10-ounce lead on now, on a lead clip, so it will release. I've got a 35-pound coated link. You know it's river stuff, so there will be snags and mussels down there. And I've got a stabilised key, 20mm bottom bait with a little pineapple dumbbell on there, just for a bit of colour, a bit of flavour. So river fishing isn't about finesse and everything, it's about strength and just doing it right. Whether I'm doing it right or not is remains to be seen, but that's what they're going to get anyway. Bit of maize, got a bucket of maize there. Maize is always good for river fishing. You know, these are naive fish that they'll eat boilies though, which is good, but maize is also good as well. You know, you have to feel about a little bit just to feel if there's any like logs or anything down there. It feels quite clean, not brilliant. Quite clean, quite firm there. That's nice there. Lovely. See, I can actually see that sinking down through the water and it's not drifting. If I put it out here, you can see that's actually drifting with the current going underneath the boat now. So, it all sounds good, doesn't it? A few boilies, a few stabilised key, as that's what I'm using, and a few scopex squid because they're always good. I ain't going to put loads out because these baits ain't drifting far. If they were drifting away in the current, I'd put more out to make sure I had some out there, but I do. Quite, it's cold, that water. Not easy fishing December on the river lot, but fish can be caught. Fortunately, the heavy rains returned, and with it the river was rising quick and the flow increasing, which made the fishing increasingly difficult. Now I upped the leads I was using to the biggest I had, and I also used heavier back leads in an attempt to keep fishing effectively. But really, there was only one way I was going to fish effectively, and that was when conditions allowed me to do so, and that meant the river receding once again. But I would just have to wait it out until that happened. Thankfully, the rain did eventually ease off and conditions started to look a lot better. The river dropped and there was less colour in it, and things were looking really good, and a message from Jim said that it was looking great for a Christmas Day carp. I was hoping he was right, and sure enough, on that very day it finally happened. Well, they certainly kept me waiting. It's been, well, just about a week since we got here and put the rods out, but for most of that it's been in flood, so it's been a real tricky one. But we got one, and better than that, it's Christmas Day, so we got a Christmas Day carp, and what better day to catch the first one of the trip. And yeah, it's a cracker as well. 35 and a quarter pound of wild river lock common. Probably the first time it's ever been caught, ever seen a hook, but God, what a lovely result. Well pleased with this one. It was really tough, you know, it was just so frustrating with the conditions, you know. There's just nothing I could do though, you know, all the time the river was pushing through, it was taking the lines and the leads down, I was putting heavier back leads, heavier leads on. But basically I just knew that it was going to need a change in conditions. Finally, a couple of days ago, you know, the river started going down, so I knew it was looking better and better. And Jim, you know, fair play to Jim, he said, oh, it's looking good for a Christmas Day one. Well, he was spot on. Whew, Christmas morning, oh, best day of the year for me to get one. And there we go, I've got one. And a cracking wild river common. So pleased with that. Whew. So, happy days. You know, if we can get more fish, I'll be happy with that. We've certainly got a chance of more sort of coming as time goes on now. Still got plenty of time to go. But yeah, we'll get this one back and go up in a nice warm house in front of a log fire and Christmas dinner soon. But there we go, Christmas Day carp, that's what it was all about. Merry Christmas. There we go, happy Christmas. Christmas Day carp. Nice, eh?
Absolutely.
There we go, let's get you back. There we go. Thank you, Mr. Carp. Oh, pleased to see you. Off you go. Brilliant. The rods are out, but the fire's on in here. It's Christmas Day. It's time for dinner.
Yeah.
Well done, Joe. It looks lovely. Happy Christmas.
And Merry Christmas to you too, Ben. Well done on your carp. Beautiful common.
Yeah, it was beautiful. And that dinner looks beautiful as well. So, got the sounder box on the table, the rods are out there, but it's time for dinner. While conditions were good, it was important to know that I was fishing effectively all the time, so that meant redoing the rods every day and making sure they were in perfect position should any carp come along. While conditions were calmer, I took the opportunity to film myself putting one of the rods out, and I was really pleased I did, because literally 5 minutes after putting this rod out, it tore off. Well, I'm pleased to say we've got another fish anyway. It's been a few days since the last one, 3 days I think, and yeah, it's certainly been tough fishing, that's for sure, but it's been looking better all the time. The floodwaters have been receding and the flow sort of dropped down a bit, and it was looking good, but nothing was happening. And then literally I've just redone the rods, and I was just putting the indicator on the last one, and I heard something bleeping, and it was the first rod I'd put out. Same rod as the other day, literally gone off again mid-afternoon. But not a monster, but a nice wild river carp again, £19. Lovely river lot fish, just pleased to see it really. And yeah, it's just strange that the rods have been out. I'll say it was on the same spot as the other one, so the rod had been out there for 2 days, and literally just put some more bait, some more maize around, some more boilies, fresh hook bait, and 5 minutes off it's gone. So I don't know whether it was the fresh hook bait that did the trick, or whether the fish just happened to be passing at that sort of moment and sort of lured up by the smell of the bait. I don't know, it's hard to say. But either way it's worked anyway, so that's the main thing. I'm pleased that we've got another fish. Proved the first one wasn't a fluke anyway. That's something, but yeah, there we go. I knew when we came it wasn't going to be easy, so well, my aim was to get a couple of fish, so I've done that now. Anything after this is a bonus. But it is cold. It was down below freezing last night, the water's cold, and I can feel this fish on my fingers. My fingers are actually freezing holding this, so you know, it's proper winter conditions, but there we go. Not easy, but they are catchable, and yeah, like I say, I'm pleased to have caught a couple of these lovely fish. Hopefully it's not the last, but who knows? Who knows? I'll get the rod back out in a minute, and I don't expect to get one as quick again, but yeah, maybe there's another couple to come yet, you never know. Unfortunately, the weather was about to do its worst to spoil things. Just when things were looking good, the rains and storms returned, and the river once again was in flood, with the flow making fishing almost impossible.
Well, at last, after all the rain and the frost and the winds, we've actually got a really nice day. A couple of nice days actually, warm nights. But it's a real shame because the river's absolutely raging through. All my rods that were across the other side all got wiped out last night. You know, even with 12-ounce leads and back leads this side, they all just got washed downstream, and there's been loads of stuff floating down the river today, and it's been going down fast, unfortunately. All I can do is basically fish this side of the river, so last throw of the dice, what I'm going to do is put 3 rods right in a line, but quite close into the bank on this side, right next to the bivvy. So it is possible, it's a bit of a long shot though, because like I say, the action I've had has been along the far margin, but last throw of the dice. So the others I'll bait up as I go, but I'm just going to basically put a line of bait there, and the aim is just to intercept anything that swims along here.
Unfortunately, my last throw of the dice didn't work and no more fish came my way. The weather was getting worse all the time and our time had run out, so we had no option but to pack down the gear and head back to England once again. Of course I left the rods till last, just on the off chance that something might happen, but on this occasion it didn't. So that was it. That was our first trip to the river lot, and it had been a great one. Now Jim Lightfoot said that we'd seen the river at its very worst this time of year, so I can only imagine how nice it is in the warmer times, and our plans are to return at a nicer time, perhaps with a bit warmer weather in the summertime, late autumn perhaps. But we'd really enjoyed our time, so thanks to Jim and thanks to Lottie the cat. It had been a fantastic trip, certainly one to remember, and after all these years I finally got to fish the river lot.